Good afternoon, world. This is Ivan Mayer. I hope you guys enjoyed my video I made early this morning. So today is your lucky day. I'm doing a double header. Yeah, I'm boiling rice right now because I'm making my fried rice recipe. So maybe in a good 30 minutes, 20 minutes, I'll have to go upstairs and check the rice. I'm eating my appetizer right now. What do you eat? I'm eating fish with plantain. Yeah. I'm 258 now, by the way, guys. 258. My younger stepbrother, he was like 340 before. Now he's down to 275. So he lost a lot of weight. I lost a lot of weight too. I'm down to 258. But the difference between me and my younger stepbrother is my younger stepbrother used to be skinny. He used to be a skinny stud in his younger days. I was never skinny. I'm the only one out of the three of us that's never been skinny in his life, obviously. My older stepbrother used to be pretty skinny too. He was like 225, but muscle in his younger days, obviously, when he was like 19, 20. But now he's fat. He gained a lot of weight. He eats a lot of junk food. I'm the skinniest out of the three of us. I'm 258, whereas my younger stepbrother is 275. My older stepbrother is like 300, 290, whatever it is. He's big now. Yeah, this fish is good. Oh, you're not getting junk food? No, man, I have to lose the weight. I also want to save my money, right? Yeah. Because over the past couple weeks, I've been getting a lot of junk food. Like, I get like the hot dogs at Snack Shack. It's expensive. Subway. Ivan, you want to save your money, you gotta eat food at home, and I'm eating food at home. I'm making my recipe, my fried rice. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoy my show. I talk about Zanus, the Zanus movie, advice to aspiring authors, and what path is better for you, obviously, which leads me to this video, obviously, right? No, Ivan, seriously, man, what path is better for an aspiring author? It just depends on your goals. If you want to be famous and have your book at bookstores, traditional publishing is a better option for you. If you don't really care about your book being at bookstores and you want to sell it online and you want to be richer but more simple, then self-publishing is a better path for you. But self-publishing costs money. It's more expensive for you. You have to pay for everything yourself. That's what I'm saying, huh? Yeah, what you're saying, yeah. You have to save quite a bit of money to self-publish your book. Yeah. You have to edit it. You have to find someone to design your cover, which can cost you a few thousand, maybe $3,500. So it's more expensive, but you own the rights of your novel if you self-publish, and you make way more money. You make the majority of the money. Whereas traditional publishing, you get the peanuts. The publishing houses take all your money. Yeah. Some Sarah? Yeah. Traditional publishing, you get the fame, but you make the peanuts. Yeah. I told you, if your book is a hit, if you traditionally publish, you'll make a lot of money, but it's not the kind of money you'd make if you self-publish, right? Self-publishing, you maintain the rights to your novel, and the majority of the money goes to you. It's your brand, and self-publishing is like your own business, right? It's like your own book business, right? Some Sarah. So there's pros and cons to both sides. Yes, self-publishing costs us more money. Traditional publishing doesn't cost you anything. Traditional publishing, you just need to get a literary agent. And the literary agent gets you a book publishing deal, and the publishing houses handle everything for you. And you also get paid in advance for traditional publishing. So let's say they give you you get a book deal. The publishing houses will pay you in advance, so you get money. But don't forget your agent's taking a cut of that, 50% of that. You have to pay your taxes on that, and you don't receive a royalty check until the advance is paid back to the companies, the publishing houses. Yeah. Well, some publishers you don't need an agent. Like you can get an agent if you want. You can get an agent if you want for self-publishing, but for self-publishing, you don't need an agent because it's your own business. You can do the work yourself, but it costs more money. You gotta save at least maybe $3,000 of your money to self-publish your book because editing your book costs a lot of money. That might cost you $1,500, $2,000. Design your cover is cheap, formatting is cheap, but editing is expensive. You gotta save maybe $2,500, $3,000, maybe around there, to self-publish your book, which is doable, obviously, right? Yeah. Yeah. But if you have a large audience, let's say you have a YouTube channel or you have a social media following of like 30,000, 50,000 fans, 100,000 fans, it's common sense you self-publish your book because you already have an audience. If a good like 20,000 of your, let's say you have 100,000 fans, and you sell 20,000 copies, it's common sense you self-publish your book as you'll make way more money. Unless you want to be famous and you traditionally publish, but it's very stupid for a person who has a big audience to traditionally publish when they already have an audience. Sell directly to your audience, you'll make way more money. You won't get the public eye fame, but you'll get your YouTube interviews and you maintain the controlling right of your novel and you make way more money if you self-publish. You make your 70%, your 60%, your 80%. It just depends on where you self-publish. It's common sense. You self-publish your book if you have a big audience. But a lot of Hollywood celebrities, most of them traditionally publish their books when they already have a big audience. I'm like, why the fuck would you traditionally self-publish your book? You already have a big audience. But a lot of people, they like the fame, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Even though I make more money, I don't want to be simple and famous. I want to be simple and rich. I want to be a famous author in the public eye and everything, and get interviewed at the big venues and have my book signing sessions and all that stuff. Samsara? Yeah. Yeah. Hence why most authors choose this traditional publishing route because they want to have their books at what? Sold at bookstores. They want to be famous in the public eye. Hence why most aspiring authors choose a traditional publishing route. But a lot of authors are self-publishing these days, right? Yeah. I'm self-publishing because I have a big audience. I'm the son of God. I have the keys to the kingdom. The whole world's tuning into my channel. It's common sense I self-publish. If I self-publish, I own 100% of the rights for my Zane's book. And the film rights, audiobook rights, you know what I'm saying? International rights, it's all mine. My game rights, all mine. Whereas if I traditionally publish, I lose the rights and the publishing houses will own my book. And they're going to change stuff from my story, which will really, really piss me off. I don't want anyone touching my Zane's story. Zane's is my baby. I don't want anyone touching my story. Samsara? Yeah. And to traditional publish, I have to sell to the gates. As traditional publishing is public eye fame. My book at bookstores and everything. All these websites reviewing my book. The book critics. It's public eye fame. I have to sell to the gates for that. Whereas self-publishing, I don't have to sell to the gates for that. Hence why I'm self-publishing. And self-publishing is your own book business. And you maintain the controlling right of your novel, but it's more expensive. You have to save at least a few $1,000s if you want to self-publish. Whereas traditional publishing, you don't have to pay a dime for that. But it's a daunting process. You have to find yourself a literary agent, which can take time. It can take you maybe 6 months to even 2 years to find a literary agent. So all that time you're wasting, you could have self-publish your book online on Amazon or Lulu. You guys see what I'm saying here? Yeah. But if you don't have a big audience and you're poor, you don't have much money in your bank account, then traditional publishing is a better path for you, because traditional publishing, you don't have to pay for anything. Getting an agent, you don't have, the agent doesn't charge you a commission to get you a book publishing deal. And if the agent does charge you a commission, that agency is a scam. As agents make money when you make money. That's how it works in the acting world as well as the literary author world. So I'm saying, when you get paid, the agent gets paid. That's how it works. Yeah. Well, I don't need an agent. I have the keys to the kingdom. I don't need help. I don't need an agent and all that stuff. I have my own keys. I don't need an agent. Saying this is my book. It's my business. I don't need to traditionally publish. I'm going to self-publish, obviously. That's why the fuck would I traditionally publish and have the publishing houses perhaps ruining my story by they're going to edit my book and they can ruin my story and change my title, change my characters, and they're going to take all my money and give me the peanuts when you're only making that money because of my keys, man. And my status. And they're duping me, yeah. Yeah, we're using Ivan, we're making him do all that dirty work, and we're taking all his money. Yeah, you're taking all my money when you're only making that money because of my keys. And you're taking advantage of my gift, having me write books for you guys, and you guys take all my money, and you don't even have to market my book. I have the keys. And you're duping me. You're taking 85% of my money and giving me 50%, 10% of the money. That's why I'm self-publishing. I have the big guys, I have the keys. I don't have to traditionally publish. I can self-publish my book myself. I'll make my 80% on Lulu. That's what I'm saying, huh? Yeah. Yeah. But Ivan, personally for you, what path do you think is better? Self-publishing is better, obviously, than traditional publishing. It's an easier process. The only con about self-publishing is that it's more expensive. You have to save at least maybe $3,000, $2,500 of your money, right? If you want to self-publish, which is doable. It's not that hard to save $2,500, $3,000 of your money, right? So that's the only hard part. You have to edit the book yourself. You have to hire an editor to edit your book, design your book cover and everything, but you maintain the controlling right of your novel, and you make way more money if you self-publish than traditional publishing. Yeah, but if you want to be famous and you want your book at bookstores and everything, then traditional publishing, and you're poor, you can't really afford to get your book edited and proofread and all that stuff, then traditional publishing is the best path for you. Because it doesn't cost you anything, but it's a daunting process. You have to find an agent, which can take time. And after that agent has to land you a book publishing deal, which can also take time. And you lose the controlling right of your novel. You have no say in your novel. That's why you're their puppet, man. Yeah, we want you to write a 3-book series, but we control your book. Whatever we want you to do for your book, you have to listen to us, and we give you the peanuts. We give you 5%, 7% of the money, and we take all the rest. Yeah, we edit the book for you and design your cover, obviously, and we edit your book, and we're taking literally all the money. When you can do that yourself. So I'm gonna ask you this question, guys. All you guys who want to traditionally publish, would you rather traditionally publish and have the traditional publishing houses do all that work for you and take 95% of your money, or would you rather save $2,500, $3,000, and you edit the book yourself, you hire an editor, a cover design, all that stuff, and you maintain the right of your novel, and you take most of the money? What path do you think is better, guys? That's why self-publishing is better, in my opinion, right? Well, there's a lot of people who disagree with me who think traditional publishing is better. I disagree. I think traditional publishing is not the right way to go, man. Self-publishing is a better option for you guys. Samsara. Yeah. Like, yes, traditional publishing, the publishing houses, they do the work for you, but they're greedy pigs, man. They do all that work for you and they take all the money, man. Yeah. So imagine you wrote an amazing book, and then you find an agent, and your agent lands you a book publishing deal. But then the houses want to change a lot of stuff in your book. Obviously, they design your cover, they design your title, they edit your book and everything, and your book is at bookstores, but they're taking, like, I don't know, 93% of the money, man. Yeah. I don't mean to be an asshole, but the traditional publishing houses are fucking greedy pigs, man. They take, like, literally all the author's money. Yeah, even though George R. R. Martin made his book sold hundreds of millions, 100 million copies, J.K. Rowling sold a lot of copies. They made the peanuts, man. The publishing houses took the majority of the money, right? As I heard, Harry Potter did a good, like, 10 billion in sales for the 7 books. And J.K. Rowling's worth like her $1 billion. She's rich, but you can only imagine how rich she'd be if she self-published. She'd be worth like her $5-6 billion. But to be fair, back in the day, in the late 90s, there was no self-publishing back then because there was no internet back then. Hence why back in the day it was all traditional publishing. But once the internet boom came in 2000, now authors can now self-publish their books online on Amazon or Lulu or on their own website, right? Yeah. But I'm gonna be honest, man. If you're an aspiring fantasy author who wants to be famous and you want to be in the public eye and everything, then traditional publishing is a better path for you. But I'm just saying, you lose the controlling right of your novel, and if they want to change your story, they can change it, man. Change your characters, change your title. They have that say, that power to change it. And your film rights, your audiobook rights, all that stuff is not really in your hands. It's in the house's hands, the publishing house's hands. They control your novel. You see what I'm saying? And you make peanuts, obviously. I told you, if your book is a hit and you traditionally publish, you'll still make a lot of money, but it's not the kind of money you would make if you self-publish. That's my point. Like, a self-publishing author who sells a lot of copies makes way more money than an author who traditionally publishes who sells a lot of copies. You know how rich George R. R. Martin would be if he self-published Game of Thrones? To be fair, there was no self-publishing back in the mid-90s when Game of Thrones was released, but if George R. R. Martin self-published, you know how rich he'd be? He's worth like $100 million now. He'd be worth his like $400-500 million if he self-published George R. R. Martin. Yeah, but to be fair, when George R. R. Martin released Game of Thrones, there was no self-publishing in the mid-90s. There was no internet back then, right? But you can only imagine how rich George R. R. Martin would be if he self-published. Yeah. I told you, self-publishing, the cons of self-publishing, your book will not be as professional. It's still professional, but it's not as professional as traditional publishing, obviously. It costs you more money. You have to invest quite a bit of money, a few $1,000s. And your books are not at the bookstore, and you don't get the public eye fame if you self-publish. You get fame, like you'll get like fans can still recognize you, and you can get all these YouTube interviews and everything, but you're not gonna get like all these websites raving about your book, the book critics raving about your book. You know what I'm saying? Interviews at large venues. You're not gonna get that if you self-publish, but you're richer, you make more money. So if you want to be more simple, just have YouTube interviews here and there and a few book signing sessions here and there, but you make more money, then self-publishing is better for you. If you want to be more famous and have that public eye fame like George R. R. Martin and J.K. Rowling, all that stuff, red carpets, all that stuff, then traditional publishing is a better path for you. I'm just saying, even though you get that fame and everything, you're the publishing house's puppet, and they control your novel. They control everything, and you're their puppet. If they want you to write a 3-book series, you gotta write a 3-book series. You're their puppet, and you make way less money. That's what I'm saying? You make way less money, yeah. And because I have a big audience, I have the keys. It's common sense. I self-publish my book, obviously. If I self-publish, I'll make my billions. If I traditionally publish, I might pull in maybe my $1 billion, 800 million. But I told you, because the gatekeepers are revenue people, they probably give me maybe 4% of the pie, and I only make maybe like $200 million on my book, 80 million on my book. They give me maybe 2%, 1%. They dupe me, man. I make like maybe my 70 million off the book. They take all my billions. Yeah. Because I have the keys, it's common sense. I self-publish my book. I maintain the control right of my novel, and I get my 80%. The majority of the money goes to me. I make my billions on my book. I don't know, my 90 billion off my book. Yeah. Yeah, my book will not be as professional and everything, but I make way more money, and I'm more simple behind the scene fame. Because I'm the son of God, I'm now king. I will. Yeah, for self-publishing, if your book sells a lot of copies, you could perhaps get a bit of the public eye fame. But even then, you're not getting the kind of fame you would if you traditionally publish. That's my point, Samsara. Yeah. Like Daniel Green, he's a popular YouTuber. He has like 400,000 subscribers on YouTube. He self-published his Breach of Peace book. I bought the book. I have it here. Where is it, by the way? I bought his book. A good book, by the way. Really good book. What is it? It's here somewhere. Wait a sec, guys. I have to look for the book. Did I lose the book? Where is it? It's here somewhere. No! Did I lose the book? Give me a sec, guys. It's here somewhere. Give me a sec here. I just gotta find it. Okay, Lord of the Rings. There it is. Found it. These are all my book notes, guys. My book. My Zanus book. All these notebooks you see here, most of it is all my Zanus stuff. Yeah. And Lord of the Rings, all stuff like that. Yeah, Daniel Green. He's a famous booktuber. He wrote a book called The Breach of Peace. I bought it on Amazon. Good book, by the way. It's a novella, right? It was a good book. I liked it. It was a good, I don't know, 7.5 out of 10. It was a good book. He self-published his book for a reason, because he's not stupid. He already has a big audience of like 400,000 fans on his YouTube channel. Why the fuck would he usually publish and have the publishing houses take the majority of his money? Yeah, he'll be famous in the public eye, but they control his book, and he wouldn't have made the money that he would have made traditional publishing compared to self-publishing. And that's why he self-published his book. But you can tell when you self-publish books do not look as professional as traditional publishing books, but you still it still looks professional. It's good enough, obviously, and you make way more money. As I'm pretty sure Daniel Green made a lot of money off his book. He might have sold maybe 20,000, 30,000 copies, 40,000 copies, and he made a lot of money off his book, man. Yes, he didn't get the public eye fame, but when he's richer, he made more money. And he also did a lot of YouTube interviews, obviously. So if you're more into like simple fame and being richer, then self-publishing is better for you. If you're more into being more famous in the public eye but making less money, then traditional publishing is a path for you. And if you don't mind the publishing houses controlling your novel, then traditional publishing is a path for you. I'm just saying, guys, if you want traditional publishing, if you want to traditionally publish, you lose the controlling right of your novel. I'm gonna keep saying that. Samsara? You don't control the right of your novel. The publishing houses control the right of your novel. Because they're greedy pigs, man. Yeah. The publishing houses should be giving the authors at least like 40% of the money, man. And they take everything. I'm not hearing wrong, guys. Traditional publishing, the publishing houses, they take like all your money, man. They take the majority of the money. They believe they should take the majority of the money because they edited your book and design your cover. But like, even though they edited your book and design your cover, they don't deserve to take like 95% of the money. They're just greedy. The publishing houses are greedy pigs, man. They take everything, guys. 95%, 93%. Like, that's very steep, man. Like, they take like 93% of the money and you get like your 7%. Yeah. Yeah, we're taking the majority of the money because we edited your book, we designed your cover. Yeah, you did all that, but the publishing houses don't deserve to take like that much of the money, man. They're fucking greedy pigs, man. They should take maybe 60% of it and give the author 40%. But they take everything because they're greedy pigs. So even though J.K. Rowling made a lot of money off Harry Potter, the publishing houses, they took all her billions. All the majority, that $10 billion in sales that Harry Potter made, they took a good $9 billion of that, and J.K. Rowling got about $1 billion of it, and they took the other $9 billion. Yeah, she's famous and she's wealthy, but they took the majority of J.K. Rowling's money. You guys see what I'm saying? Huh? They're greedy pigs, the publishing houses. Greedy fucking pigs, yeah. They're greedy animals. They're greedy pigs. Hey, give me a sec, guys. I'm gonna go upstairs and check the rice. I'll be back in a sec. Because I'm making rice right now for my recipe, right? Don't hate it, and still really don't want that alone. I'm glad you're doing this show. The rice is already made. It's already ready. Yeah. Ivan, thank you. Yeah, you opened our eyes. Yeah. But if you want to be famous and you don't have much money, then traditional publishing is a better path for you. If you're more into being famous, less on the money, I told you, if you traditionally publish and your book sells a lot of copies, you'll still make a shitload of money, but it's not the kind of money you'd make if you self-publish. That's my point. A best-selling self-publishing book and traditional publishing book, you make way more money self-publishing, way more money. As self-publishing, the majority of the money goes to you. Whereas traditional publishing, you get the peanuts. The publishing houses take the majority of the pie because they're greedy pigs. And that's why I'm not fucking traditional publishing. I'm not going to have... Yeah, because my book is a masterpiece, the gatekeepers will tell me, and we'll put you with the big 5 houses like Penguin Random House, the biggest book publishing house in the world. But Penguin Random House will be duping me. They'll be taking like 85-90% of my money when they're only making that money because of my keys. And so they're duping me. And they're using me too. They're on their puppet. Yeah, we want you to write a 3-book series. And they can change my story and edit my book and everything. But I told you, because I'm such an amazing author, amazing writer, storyteller, obviously, the editors would probably do minor revisions for my book because I'm an amazing storyteller. Maybe fix up some of my stiff rawness, but I'm a creative genius. But they'd be taking all my money when they're only making that money because of my keys. As if I traditionally published, the publishing houses wouldn't have to market my book. I have the keys to the kingdom, hence they're duping me. They're taking all my money, giving me the peas when you're only making that money because of my keys. Hence you're using me, you're profiting off my fucking success, man. That's why I'm not traditional publishing. I have my own keys, I can self-publish my book myself. I'm sorry. duh, it's common sense. I have a big audience. If you have a big audience, it's common sense, guys. Self-publish your book. Why the fuck would you go through that daunting process, finding an agent and landing a book publishing deal? Yeah, you'll be famous and everything, but like you already have a big audience, and you're just gonna let the traditional publishing houses take all your money and give you the peanuts when you can make way more money self-publishing? It's common sense. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's common sense. Yeah, I know the gatekeepers have an envy. The gatekeepers will probably give me maybe 0.5% of the money, man. If I traditionally publish, they'll lock the doors on me. Yeah, don't even give Ivan like 50%, 10%. Give him maybe 1%, 0.8% of the money. They would dupe me because they have an envy. And the traditional publishing houses will steal all my money and give me the peanuts, man. I make maybe $70 million off my Zane's book. Ivan, you happy? You made $70 million. I'm like, where the fuck is the rest of the money? What do you mean, Ivan? Like, you made your $70 million. I'm like, oh my god, these guys dupe me. Yeah, they take all my billions. Yeah. Whereas self-publishing, I can make my billions, man. My $19 billion off the book, man. I take 80% of the money. Sorry. I told you, if your self-publishing book is a hit, you will get maybe a little bit more fame. You might get interviewed at a few places here and there, but it's still not the kind of fame you get if your book's a hit, if you traditionally publish. But you'll get a lot of YouTube interviews. Like Daniel Green had interviews with Brandon Sanderson. Daniel Green's Breach of Peace was obviously a hit. He has a huge audience. He probably sold maybe 10, 20, 30, 40,000 copies, maybe around there. 20,000 copies around there. He made a lot of money, and yet he only had like YouTube interviews and stuff. But he made way more money than he ever would make if he traditionally published. And he's smart, obviously, right? He's not stupid. Yeah, I have a big audience. Why the fuck would I traditionally publish when I can sell directly on Amazon and I maintain the control around my novel? I make more money. Yeah, you have simple fame, YouTube interviews here and there, which is still pretty cool. But you're richer and you control your novel, the writing of your novel, right? Yeah, so I'm going to keep saying this, man. If you're in it more for the fame, traditional publishing is better for you. If you're in it more for the money, self-publishing is better for you. But a lot of aspiring fantasy authors, they think that traditional publishing, some people think traditional publishing, you make more money. You don't. Traditional publishing, you make less money. They give you the peanuts, man. The publishing houses give you the peanuts. They're greedy pigs. Sorry? Yeah. So why you think the publishing houses are greedy? Oh yeah, they're fucking greedy pigs, man. They take everything and they give the author peanuts, man. Like 10%, 15%. The only way you're gonna get like 10, 50% is if you're a well-known author. If your book was a success, they'll give you 15%, maybe 10%. But if you're not that well-known of an author, you'll be lucky to get 7%. You might get maybe 4 or 5% of the royalties. Yeah. So let's say you sell your book for $20 and they give you 5%. You're making what? You're 50 cents per book sold, man. So the traditional publishing, if my math is right, the traditional publishing houses are taking all the money and giving you the peanuts. But to be fair, you get the fame, the public eye fame if your book's a hit. But I'm just saying, the traditional publishing houses are taking the majority of the money, man. Because they're greedy fucking pigs, those guys. Fucking greedy pigs, man. They take everything, man, and give you peanuts. Yeah. And don't forget, your agent's taking 50% of you. So let's say you make 4% for the royalties. Your agent's taking 50% of your 4%. That's how greedy the book publishing houses are, man. That's why in my video I made when I started my miscellaneous series, self-publishing or traditional publishing, I told you once you sit in that office, their true colors come out. The traditional publishing houses, their true colors come out. You lose the controlling right of your novel, man, when you sit in that room. And that's why I guarantee you some authors, aspiring authors, like they're excited for their book and everything. And once they have that meeting with the CEOs at the book publishing house, they find out what their true colors come out, how greedy they really are, man. They're greedy fucking pigs, man. Yeah. By the way, we want to sign you for this book, but you lose the controlling right of your novel. It's all in our hands, and we only give you like we're only going to give you 4% of the royalties, and your agent's taking 50% of your 4%. So you're making 3-something% of the money, and they control your novel. Even if your book's a hit, you'll make a lot of money, but it's not the kind of money you'd make if you self-publish. But if you're in it for the fame, then traditional publishing is obviously the path for you. I'm just saying, guys, they're greedy pigs, the publishing houses. They take all your money, man. Everything they take, yeah. They're greedy pigs, yeah, man. The publishing houses. They're greedy pigs, yeah. Yeah. For me, I have no choice. I have to self-publish because for me to traditionally publish, I have to sell to the gatekeepers. As traditional publishing is public eye fame. In the public eye, your book at bookstores. Hence why it's common sense. I have a big audience. I have the keys. It's common sense I self-publish my Zanius book, obviously. Or my Their Unique book if I write Their Unique. Obviously. And I'm the kind of guy who's very protective over my manuscript. I don't want any editor touching my fucking story, man. I'm such a good storyteller, my book doesn't even need any editing. Yes, I can fix up a few stiff, raw dialogue here and there. You can fix it up a little bit, but it doesn't really make a difference. My point is, like, my Zanius book, if the Penguin Random House editors edited my Zanius book, there wouldn't really be anything they can edit to improve the story. The story is already amazing. I'm an amazing storyteller. My book is like a 9.5, 9.8 out of 10, a 4.8 out of 10. It's a fucking amazing story. Yes, you can polish up a few things here and there, the rawness and stiffness inside the dialogue, and maybe add more scenes with the eagles and everything, but it's not really going to change anything. See what I'm saying? My book, Zanius, is a masterpiece. That's my point. Ivan, thank you, man. You opened some of our eyes. Yeah, man, all you aspiring fantasy authors, I recommend just self-publish your book, man. Yeah, if you have Facebook and you have like 3,000 followers, you can promote your book on Facebook. You have Instagram, you have, you know what I'm saying? You promote your book, and if you sell 1,000 copies, 800 copies, you can make some pretty good money for yourself. You can make your 15 grand, your 12 grand. That's pretty good money for a debut fantasy author, right? And you don't have to worry about the agents getting loads of rejections from query letters to agents, and you don't have to worry about the publishing houses changing your story and also giving you the peanuts, right? That's all I'm gonna say, right? You won't be as famous, but you made more money for yourself. Yeah, you made way more money for yourself than you ever would traditional publishing, Sarah. Yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, man, I want my book at bookstores. Okay, if that means anything to you, if you want your book at bookstores looking beautiful on the shelf and everything at bookstores, then traditionally publish. It's your choice. I'm just saying, the traditional publishing process is a daunting process. You have to find an agent, which can take time. And traditional publishing, I don't mean to be rude, it can lower your self-esteem as an aspiring author. As a lot of agents will be rejecting your manuscript and telling you the reasons why they reject your manuscript, that could lower your self-esteem and it can make you give up as an author. And if you land an agent, now that agent has to land you a book publishing deal, and the publishing houses can give harsh reviews about your book, and it can lower your self-esteem and make you give up as a fantasy aspiring author, man. Whereas self-publishing, you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. So, Ivan, what books are more quality, traditional publishing or self-publishing? Obviously, traditional publishing, the more traditional publishing books are better quality because they have a huge team behind each book. They have the best editors in the business, the best cover designers in the business to work on your book, obviously. Hence why traditional publishing books tend to be more of quality than self-publishing books. But there's a lot of also good quality self-publishing books out there too, obviously. But traditional publishing, they have a huge team behind your book. Hence why it's more quality, you can argue. But I'm just saying, self-publishing, there's also a lot of amazing self-publishing books too. As when you self-publish your book, you can hire an editor to polish up your manuscript too, right? But traditional publishing books tend to look more professional. They're of more quality on average, but there's also a lot of great self-publishing quality books out there too, obviously. Some Sarah? Yeah, that's my point. So, Ivan, what path do you think is better for the aspiring author? Self-publishing, in my opinion, is a better option for you. But I told you, if you want to be famous like George R. R. Martin and J.K. Rowling and all that stuff, then traditional publishing is obviously the better path for you. If you're more in it for the fame and the critical reception, traditional publishing is the better path for you. And if you want your book at bookstores looking beautiful on the shelf and everything, traditional publishing is the better path for you. But if you don't really care about your book being at bookstores and you want to sell it online, and you want to be richer, but like have more simple fame, like YouTube interviews and everything, and control the ride of your novel, self-publishing is a better option for you. Yeah. Some Sarah? But self-publishing is more work for you though. You're gonna have to at least have maybe $3,000, $2,500, $2,800 in savings if you want to self-publish your book, because you have to get it edited, proofread. If your book is already good and you don't need a developmental editor, but every book needs to be proofread, right? Proofreading is also expensive too. That can cost you $1,500, $1,200 to even $2,000 for proofreading to fix up your grammar and everything. Whereas developmental editing is even more expensive because they're polishing up your story. That's why for self-publishing, you gotta at least save a good maybe $3,000, $2,000 of your money. Obviously, but it's worth it because once you get that over with, you can now release it online on to your fan base on Amazon or Lulu, and you maintain the majority of the rights, you maintain the rights of your book, and the majority of the money goes to you. Whereas traditional publishing is the opposite. They have a big team working on your book. You don't have to pay for any of that, but you lose the controlling right of your novel, and they give you the peanuts, like your 7%, your 4%, your 5%, because the traditional publishing houses are greedy pigs. They're greedy corporations. They're greedy pigs right now. They're greedy pigs, man. Like Game of Thrones probably made a few $1 billion in sales. George R. R. Martin's worth is $120 million, but he got the peanuts, man. The Penguin Random House. I believe George R. R. Martin's with Penguin Random House. Penguin Random House took the rest of the billions, man. Game of Thrones probably made a good maybe $1.5 billion, maybe $1.8 billion, maybe $1.8 billion in sales. The majority of that went to Penguin Random House, and George R. R. Martin got the peanuts. He only got his $100 million. So yeah, he's rich and he's famous and everything, but they took the majority of George R. R. Martin's money, man. The traditional publishing houses are greedy pigs. Fucking greedy pigs, yeah. Yeah. And be honest, guys, even though being a famous author is cool, you'd rather be more simple, just have YouTube interviews and be richer than be less richer and be more famous, right? Yeah, it's cool to have the public eye fame and the critical reception for the book critics, but you don't make as much money when you traditionally publish, and you lose the controlling right of your novel. You're the publishing house's puppet, man. And they put pressure on you. If they want you to write a 3, 4, 5 book series, you gotta write it. And they put pressure on you to finish your book, man. With self-publishing, you don't have to worry about the pressure. The book is yours. You can take your time writing your sequels, obviously. But I recommend you don't keep the fans waiting. Even if you self-publish, I recommend you don't keep the fans waiting for maybe 8, 10 years for your sequels to your fantasy series. But you can take your time, you release your book on Amazon, Lulu, and then you release your sequel maybe 2, 3 years later. And you don't have to worry about the pressure from the publishing houses to get you to finish your novel. You see what I'm saying, huh? Yeah. You can write at your own pace. Yeah. See what I'm saying? As you were saying, yeah. So I've a lot of booktubers these days self-publish a book. Yeah, because they already have a big audience. If you already have a big audience on your YouTube channel, why the fuck would you go through that daunting process and have the publishing houses take all your money? Yeah, you're more famous if it's a hit, but you're not making the kind of money you would if you self-publish. Self-publishing, you make way more money. That's why a lot of booktubers who have a big audience, they obviously self-publish. It's common sense. You maintain the right of your novel, and you make way more money. Unless you want to be famous and then traditionally publish, but why the fuck would you traditionally publish when you already have a big audience? It's common sense. You self-publish your book directly on Amazon Lulu and you maintain the majority of the pie of the money and the rights are yours for your book. Some Sarah? Whereas if you're an aspiring author who doesn't have a big fan base, maybe traditional publishing is the best path for you because you don't have a big audience. But I told you, if you have like 4,000 followers on Facebook, that maybe a good 800,000 of your fans can buy your book and you can make some good money. You're 8,000-10,000 off your book. That's some pretty good part-time money as a debut first-time fantasy author. Some Sarah. Yeah. 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 So, Ivan, most authors are part-time. Yes, most authors are part-time. They have a full-time job and they write books on the side. Because the truth is, most books sell, like, you'll be lucky to sell, like, even 500 copies, man, for your book. That's why most authors do it part-time. But even if you sell 500 copies, you're still making not bad money. You might make maybe your 4 or 5 grand. That's a pretty good chunk of money for your first book. But the key is marketing. You got to market the heck out of your book and to your fan base, obviously. So maybe your first book sells 500 copies. Your second book might sell maybe 1,500 copies. And if you sell 1,500 copies and you price your book for $30, 30 times 1,500, you just made $45,000. So you see how even if you sell 1,500 copies, your book did $45,000 in sales. Let's say you publish on Amazon. Amazon takes 30%. You have to pay taxes too on that. So let's say you sell 1,500 copies, obviously, and your book sells $45,000. $45,000 after taxes is like $34,000 around there. And then Amazon takes 30% of the cut. You just made like your 22 grand, whatever it is. That's pretty good money for a first time aspiring fantasy author. But you gotta make at least your 40, 50K a year as an aspiring fantasy author if you want to do it full time, right? Yeah, once you make 50, 60K, but to make 50, 60K, you gotta sell like 3,000 copies, which is tough as most books only sell like 100, 200, 300, 400. Oh, hey, I'm saying like 500 copies, man, yeah. The writing industry is very difficult, right? But my point is, for self-publishing, you don't have to sell as much copies to make money because you take the majority of the pie. Whereas traditional publishing, you have to sell more copies to make more money. And the odds are more stacked against you when you traditionally publish because the book publishing houses are so fucking greedy. They take like all the money for themselves and they give you the peanuts. And the agent also takes a cut of your peanuts, right? When you traditionally publish. That's why for me traditional publishing is a big no. Yeah. Yeah. Some sorry. Yeah. But self-publishing, you gotta do the marketing yourself. You gotta really market your book. I told you, if you have Facebook and you have like 4,000 or 5,000 friends on Facebook, market the heck out of your book to your 5,000 friends on Facebook. You have Instagram and you have 800 followers. Market your book on Instagram. If you have X and you have 2,000 followers, market the heck out of your book to your followers. And it doesn't hurt to create what do you call it? Promos. You print these promos about your book. You post it at university campuses and everything, and you pass out flyers. Tell people, hey, I have a book coming out. You should check it out. And you can promote your book that way too. There's many ways you can market your book, obviously. You guys don't have the keys like me. Don't hate them. So I'm just saying there's ways you can market your book. Yeah, because if you can hit that 1,000 copies sold and you sell your book for $30, you just made like 20 grand for yourself, man. That's good part-time money for an author. And you build your fan base, and maybe next time you might sell 2,500 copies. So let's say you sell your book at $30 and you sell 2,500 copies. That's $75,000, almost $80,000 in sales. And after taxes and Amazon's cut, you pulled in your like 40 grand. And selling 2,500 copies is doable. You just gotta really market your book, man. That's why self-publishing is a better path to go. Because traditional publishing, if you sell 2,500 copies, you might only make maybe your 8 grand or something like that. Because the publishing houses, they take all your money. They take majority of the money. You get the peanuts, man. Your agent takes 10%. 50% of your money if you traditionally publish. Some saying? Yeah. Some saying? Yeah, what you just saying? Yeah. Yeah. Fantasy Reddit is also a good place to promote your book too. So all you aspiring fantasy authors who are on Fantasy Reddit is also a very good place to promote your fantasy novel. But don't just do it last minute. You got to build up the promotion. Hey guys, I have a book coming out, and Fantasy Reddit has 3 million followers on that forum. So promote it there too. That's a good place to promote your book. Some Sarah. That's a good place to promote your book. Yeah. Some Sarah. That's why self-publishing is a path to go, obviously. But I told you, if you want your book to look more professional and have your book be at bookstores and all that stuff, then traditional publishing is obviously the better path for you, some Sarah. Yeah. Ivan, thank you for the advice, man. You help us out a lot. Yes. Well, Ivan, what about the advice to the aspiring fantasy authors? Well, I already told you in my last video. Just keep writing. Keep writing, and that's how you improve your writing, obviously, as an aspiring author. Some Sarah. Some aspiring authors might get it at their first try. It might take some people maybe 5 tries to hone their craft in writing their fantasy novel. You see what I'm saying? For me, it took me 1 try. Once I wrote that Islamic story, that was my first book I wrote. My writing was not bad, but that's how I honed my craft. And when I wrote Zanus, my creativity flowed and I was able to write a masterpiece. Some Sarah. Yeah. Yeah. Some Sarah? Yeah, but Ivan, man, like, it's easy for you to say that, man. Like, you have the gift, you're able to tell an amazing story. I know, but my best advice to you guys is just keep practicing your writing and watch Brandon Sanderson's lectures on YouTube. That'll help you all too with your fantasy novel. Because Brandon Sanderson, I'm talking to fantasy aspiring authors, right? Brandon Sanderson is a fantasy author, and he has a lot of lectures on his YouTube channel on YouTube you can watch. That will help you out a lot. And the main thing is keep practicing your writing, man. You gotta keep practicing your writing. That's how it works, right? Yeah. Keep practicing your writing. That's how you get better. And it doesn't hurt to read the greats too. Like Brandon Sanderson, George R. Martin, J.R.R. Tolkien, J.K. Rowling. It doesn't hurt to read those guys. But the best advice I can give you is keep practicing your writing and stay away from info dumping the reader. Like, don't spend any more than a page and a half info dumping the reader. There's a reason why I don't do that in my book, man. Like, the longest info dump I have in my book is maybe 3/4 of a page. And I get right to the point with the story. Get right to the point with the story and keep the story pacing. Yeah, but Ivan, how do we keep it pacing? Create conflicts, have foreshadowing, have climaxes in your chapters. And that's what keeps the story pacing and keeps the reader entertained. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Some Sarah? Yeah. So, Ivan, your advice is like for all us aspiring authors, fantasy authors, not about fantasy here, is just be simple. Yes, man. The best way to write an amazing fantasy story, just be a simple writer. Stop trying to be overcomplicated and have all these overuse of all these English words, man. You can confuse the reader and you can bore the reader with that, man. Stop trying to wow the reader with your amazing English literature. Try to wow them with your story, not the English literature, man. Writing a book is not about wowing the story with an English literature. It's about telling a compelling story. Hence, writing a book, man. Writing a book means your responsibility as an aspiring author is to entertain the reader with your book, not try to wow them with your English literature. There's nothing wrong with having amazing English literature in your book, obviously, but don't info dump the reader for like 3, 4, 5 pages of your English literature. Focus on wowing them with your story. Is the story entertaining? Not the writing. Is the story form entertaining? That's what's important, man. As when you guys read my book, you notice how I'm a very simple writer. I don't wow the reader with my English words. I wow them with my story form, my plot. And that's what makes the story interesting. And to be fair, I'm not that great of an English writer. Half those words that all these amazing English writers use when they write their manuscript, I don't even know half those words. And yet my story's more entertaining than all those aspiring authors' novel manuscripts that you read, right? Yeah. Yo, Ivan, we were shocked when we read your book, man. Your book is fucking entertaining. Yes, it is. And yet I'm a very simple writer. I don't use all these overcomplicated words. And yet my story still stands out more than all these other aspiring fantasy authors who have all these big poetic overuse of the English literature, right? Their words, right? Yeah, my book's more entertaining because I know how to tell a good story. I'm a creative genius. When you guys read They're Unique, you notice how when I describe stuff, I don't use all these big words, and yet it's still entertaining, right? Yeah, just tell a great story. Stop trying to wow the reader with your overuse of the English words, man. Nobody cares about how good your English language is. They care about how good your story is. And that's what a lot of these aspiring fantasy authors don't get. They can't get that through their head. Yeah. I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm just not that creative about buying. I have a knowledge of English literature. Hopefully I wow them with my English literature and my stories are entertaining. Nah, that's not how you write a story, man. Yeah, just be simple, man. Being simple is the best advice I can give you when you write a fantasy novel, man. Just be simple and tell a good story, man. Stop trying to wow the reader with your amazing poetic English literature. As my book is a very simple book when you read it, right? I don't use all these big words. And yet it's entertaining, right? Yeah. And I know what I'm talking about, man. I read my book. My book is a masterpiece. It's a fucking amazing story. And yet I'm a very simple writer. I don't use all these big words. And yet my story stands out more than a lot of these books with their big, high level, you know what I'm saying, overuse of the English words, right? I told you, J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, George R. Martin's Game of Thrones, Brandon Sanders's Way of Kings, in terms of the poetic literature of the English language, better than my book, obviously, but in terms of the story, my book's more entertaining. And yet my story is much more simple. It's written in a much more simple way than those other books, but it's still more entertaining, right? Because I'm an amazing storyteller. But I'm not that great in the English language. Samsara. Yeah. After this, I'm gonna take a nice hot shower. I'll enjoy showing you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'm gonna call this video self-publishing or traditional publishing. What's the better path for an aspiring author? What's the better path? And writing advice from Ivan O'Meara. More writing advice from Ivan O'Meara, right? Yeah. So Ivan, being simple, being a simple writer is your best advice. Yes, just be simple, man. Stop trying to wow the reader with your overuse of the English words, man. It can be confusing and you can bore the reader with that, man. Nobody cares how good your English writing is. They care about how good your story writing is, not your English writing. Your story writing. You're not writing an essay, you're writing a story. How good is your story writing, not your English writing? There's nothing wrong with having good English words in there, and it makes your book more beautiful, more beautifully written. But like, stop trying to wow the reader with with your big English words. Just tell a simple, good story, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah. As my story is very simple when you read it. You guys read my book, yeah. Did I use any of these big words in a lot of stuff I showed you? No, Ivan. You use it's pretty simply written, and yet it's entertaining, right? Yeah, just be simple and stop trying to use the overuse of the English words. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, how do I keep the story pacing? Throw in a foreshadowing, a climax of your story, and it doesn't hurt to have your main character throw in conflicts too. Conflicts with your main character, with your protagonist. Have conflicts in your chapters. Have foreshadowing and have climaxes in your chapters, and that keeps the story pacing, obviously. So try your very best in every chapter that you write to throw in a conflict with your character, or have a foreshadowing in there, or have a climax. Climax is key, right? Try to have climaxes in each of your chapters. Something big happens. Something big happens in the plot, and that keeps the reader more entertained, and it keeps the story pacing, and the reader is turning the page. Obviously, that's the best advice I can give you. Some saying. Whereas if you have chapters where you don't have conflicts, you don't have foreshadowing there, you don't have climaxes in there, you can bore the reader with your chapters. Obviously. But the truth is, a lot of aspiring authors, they don't do that. They'll have maybe like, they write like, I don't know, 50 chapters in the book. Maybe 20 other chapters, it's pretty interesting. You have conflicts and climaxes. In the other chapters, nothing really happens and it's boring. That's why my advice is try to put climaxes in each of your chapters. Big climaxes and foreshadowings in your chapters to make it more interesting. Find a climax for every chapter that you write to keep the reader engaged and more hooked, and that keeps the story pacing. As in all my chapters in my book, I have climaxes in it. Like a big climax, hence why it's so entertaining. Yeah. I either have the majority of my chapters in my book, I have big climaxes in it, obviously, and if I don't, I have like a foreshadowing. I have foreshadowing that keeps the reader thinking, okay, what if this happens in the next chapter, and that keeps the reader engaged and hooked. Because I know how to tell you a story. I'm an amazing storyteller. See what I'm saying? Yeah. And if you don't have a climax for your chapter, at least throw in a foreshadowing or a cliffhanger. This might happen in the next chapter. Throw in hints and cliffhangers. In my book, when you read it, I have hints and cliffhangers and foreshadowing in all my chapters. Hence why it's a masterpiece, my book, right? It's an amazing story when you read it. Yeah. Yeah. So Ivan, your book is filled with foreshadowing. Oh yeah, when you read my book, from the prologue all the way to the end of the book, it's filled with foreshadowing, hints, climaxes in my chapters. That's why my book is so entertaining. Because I always do my best to throw in cliffhangers, foreshadowing, and climaxes in my chapters. The key is your foreshadowing and your climaxes, as I said in my video years ago, when I saw my miscellaneous video that I deleted. Yeah, your cliffhanger and your foreshadowing and your climaxes are key to keep the story pacing. And conflict too. Yeah. If you don't have a big climax, try to have a conflict with your protagonist, with your antagonist, with your supporting characters. That way it keeps the story pacing and the reader is pretty hooked turning the page. Whereas if you don't have any of that's pretty much a boring chapter, and the reader can DNF your book, right? That's why you got to be very, very keen when you pen down your manuscript. All you aspiring fantasy authors right now. Yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, some of these booktubers who wrote books will disagree with you. Yeah, everyone has their own opinion, but who would you rather take advice from? Someone like me who wrote the best fantasy novel written? Or would you rather take advice from these guys who wrote amazing books, obviously, but they're not as good as my books, in my opinion, right? I recommend you take advice from me, as I wrote the better book than all those authors. As my stepmother told me, Zane is number one. I don't mean to be an asshole, I don't mean to be cocky, I'm a very humble man, but my stepmother told me Zane's is number one for a reason, which means it's better than all those guys' books. As I recommend you take the advice from me over those guys. Put in a climax. Do your very best to have climaxes in your chapter. Trust me, it will keep the reader more engaged and more hooked. And it doesn't hurt to throw in hints and foreshadowing and cliffhangers. Try to leave every chapter with a cliffhanger. As all my chapters end with cliffhangers. Every single chapter. Hence why it's so entertaining. Really, Ivan? Yes. Every chapter you read in my book, guys, ends with... I put foreshadowing hints in there. There was always a big climax in each of my chapters. And I end it with a cliffhanger. Like the end of Volume 1, I ended it with, it's them, it's the wolves, they're here. And that leaves the reader engaged. Oh my god, what's going to happen next with Cassius, Asmodeus, and the wolves? And I ended off with a big climax, obviously. The wolves are coming. Yeah. The end of the Tachys or Colonius chapter, I ended with Tacitonius and Cassius. They arrive to Saphius, and they say, we seek Prince Tachys as he happened to the found passage here. That's a big cliffhanger. Oh my god, what's going to happen with Tachys in the dungeon with it when his cousins arrived? What's going to happen to Eli and Job now that his cousins have arrived to Saphius? I leave every chapter with a cliffhanger, obviously, and a big climax too. And that's why my story is so engaging and it's so entertaining when you read it. Sometimes, huh? Yeah. And I know some of these other authors on who do YouTube, all these booktubers who wrote fantasy novels might disagree with me, but who would you rather take advice from? Would you rather take advice from me, who wrote the best fantasy novel ever, or would you rather take advice from those other guys who wrote amazing books, but they're not as good as my book? It's up to you, right? Because every author who wrote a book obviously has some differences of opinions, obviously. But I think the way I think my opinion is right. Obviously, subjectively, right? Subjectively right? Yeah. 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 Every chapter you leave with a cliffhanger? Yes, man. Every chapter in my book, I leave it with a cliffhanger. It keeps the reader engaged and wondering, oh my god, what's going to happen next? The end of Volume 2, I ended with Tachys. He tells Cassius and all the Southerns and his cousins and everything, Yeah, some of these children will not see the North. And there's other stuff that happens, but I don't want to spoil the story for you. And that leaves the reader guessing, oh my god, what happens next? What if these children die in the caverns? Yeah, it keeps the story engaging and it keeps the story interesting. Because I'm gifted, obviously. I have the creative gift from the heavens. Try your best to end your chapters on a cliffhanger. And if not, at least put in a conflict in there or a big climax. And it doesn't hurt to put foreshadowing hints in your chapters to what's going to happen later on in your novel. Obviously, if you do one of those, you're going to have a more engaging, compelling story, fantasy story. I'm talking about fantasy here because I wrote fantasy, right? Yeah. You got some there? Yeah, I was just saying thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Some Sarah. Ivan, are you saying we shouldn't use the big English words? No, I'm not saying that. There's nothing wrong with writing beautiful English when you write a book, but that shouldn't be your main focus. Your main focus should be writing a beautiful story. Write a beautiful story. Stop trying to write beautiful English language, English literature. Write a beautiful story. Like my story is very beautiful, but it's not. I'm a very simple writer. I don't use all these big English words that some of the readers don't even know what it means, man. And if you spend time dumping the reader with like 4 or 5 pages of what the land is like, what the character's thinking, their actions and everything, you can bore the reader and you can also confuse them. As a lot of readers don't understand half those English words that these aspiring authors write when they write their manuscript. Just be simple and tell a beautiful story. Samsara? Be simple and tell a beautiful story. That's my advice. To all you aspiring fantasy authors, Samsara. Yeah. Yeah. So Ivan, every aspiring fantasy author's dream is to have a bestseller, of course. But the chances of that happening is not high. But I told you, if you can sell even 500 copies, you can make some pretty good money for it. So let's say you sell your book for $25, and you sell 500 copies. That's 12,500 after taxes and Amazon's cut or Lulu's cut. You're pulling in like your 7 grand. Making 7 grand for your first novel is not bad. It's a pretty good chunk of change, right? Yeah, that's not bad part-time money for yourself. And then maybe next time you sell 1,500 copies and you make your 25 grand. And by your third book, you sell maybe 3,000 copies and you make your 50 grand. And now you can write books full time. You quit your full time job and write full time and pay your bills. Samsara? Yeah. No, I mean, it's easy for you to say that, man. We're not you. We're not the son of God. We don't have the keys. I know, but I'm giving you my advice, man. That's my advice, obviously. Samsara? Yeah. Ivan, what about screenwriting? Oh, screenwriting is a different medium, obviously. Screenwriting is even more difficult than writing a novel, obviously, because screenwriting is motion picture. I told you, if you can write a pretty good fantasy novel, you can write your own screenplay. But screenplay is obviously a bit more difficult because it's motion picture, right? Screenwriting is all picture, man. It's motion picture, so it's more difficult to write a movie than it is to write a book, obviously. Yeah. Ivan, how do you make your characters come alive in a book? For that, I can't give you an answer. That obviously has to do with your creativity and your gift, obviously. As me making my characters jump on a page every time when you read my chapters, that's just a God-given gift that I have. I don't know how I do it. Because these other authors will also write dialogue too, just like I write dialogue, and yet their characters don't jump on the page the way my book does. Yeah, Ivan, the way your dialogue flows, the characters come alive. How do you do it? It's a gift I have. I don't know how I do that. That one trick I can't tell you. Obviously, that I can't help you with. But even these other novels that you read, the characters jump out a little bit. Like Lord of the Rings, the characters jump out a little bit, obviously. These other books, their characters jump out a little bit, but it's not like my book. My book, the characters like come alive on a page. That's why it's so entertaining, as you guys read. But that I can't tell you my trick. I don't know how I do it. As I write dialogue the way these other authors write dialogue, and yet my characters jump up on the page. I don't know how I do it. It's just a gift that I have. That's a heavenly gift that I have. I don't know how I do it, man. It's a gift. Yeah. Ivan, man, why don't you be a full-time author, man? Fuck movies. No. My dream is to be movies or VJ. It's not being a full-time author, man. Yes, being a famous author is fucking cool. I wouldn't mind being a full-time famous author, but I'd rather be a movie star than be a full-time famous author. I'm sorry, man. All you fans on Fantasy Writers Reddit, I'm not going to be a full-time author when I'm king. I know you want me to write more books. My dream is to be a movie star. It's not being a full-time author. I want to be a movie star with VJ, Sarah. Oh. Yeah. Ivan, this is a sick video, I know. You better enjoy these Sabbath's Rose Wise Stokan world. So I'm king, I'm not making any rules for you. When me and Peter are king, I'm not making rules for you, man. Once I make mine, my 19 on my book, I'm taking my money, I'm taking my wife, and I'm piecing the fuck out of this, man. I'm not gonna have you do my man, no way. I'm gonna live my life with VJ, we're gonna be famous movie stars, and I'm gonna experience being a famous author with VJ, and you're left behind, you're not saved. But I wish you guys the best, man. I'm a good man, I'm not evil like you guys. Yes, I have mental issues, and I have anxiety, and I'm a bit fucked up in the head, but I'm a good man. I kill you with kindness. I just take my money, I take my wife, and I peace out. And you're left behind, you're not saved. Samsara. I wish you the best, though. I'm a good man. The only book I told you I might complete is They're Unique, because I started the book back when I was in college. I wrote that in class when I was in college on my computer in class. And I thought about it. I'm like, hey, maybe I should just finish They're Unique, and I'll make more money. I'll make maybe my 35 billion for the two books for me, VJ, right? If I write They're Unique, and if I sell They're Unique and Zanes, I'll be pulling in my 30 plus billion off the book, man. My 33 billion off both books. Samsara. Whereas if I just write Zanes, I'll make maybe my 19, my 23, maybe 22 billion around there off the book, right? Yeah. That's like VJ be curious. Ivan, how's money you off your Zanes book, by the way? I made $19 million. You made $19 million off your book? I'm like, yes, I did. She's like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. I know. A lot of money, man. Ivan, are you saying that all us aspiring fantasy authors should avoid traditional publishing? No, I'm not saying that. There are some pros to traditional publishing too. I'm just saying self-publishing is obviously the better option for you, obviously, because you don't have to go through that daunting process of finding an agent and receiving loads of rejections and lowering your self-esteem as an aspiring fantasy author. You know what I'm saying? And don't forget, once you land your agent, which can take time, that agent now has to land you a book publishing deal, which can also take time. It can take 1 year, 6 months, 2 years, even 3, 4 years just to land a book publishing deal. So let's say it takes you 7 years to get an agent and land a book publishing deal. In that 7 years, you could have published 2 books. You could have self-published 2 books on Amazon or Lulu if you self-published. You guys see my point here? And you make way more money. You don't get as much as the public eye fame, but you make way more money. That's my point, right? I told you got to find an audience in order for you to make money off your book, and you got to market your book, man. I told you there's ways to market your book. Fantasy Reddit, promote it there. Fantasy Writers Reddit, promote it there. Lord of the Rings Reddit, promote it there. Your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter accounts, and also passing out flyers at university campuses. There's ways you can promote your book, right? Fantasy Reddit is a good place to promote your book. They have 3 million plus followers on that forum. So if you promote your book there, if a good maybe 1,000 people, 800 people there buy your book, and a good maybe 400 of your social media followers buy your book, you sold a good what? 1,200 copies. Yeah. You sell your prints for $30 times 1,200. That's 36,000. You made a good maybe 15 grand after taxes. And Amazon Lulu's cut, right? Yeah. You can make some good money. You just gotta market your book. Samsara? Yeah. Because I'm going to be honest, guys, all you aspiring fantasy authors who want to write a fantasy novel, don't expect to sell like 80,000 copies on your first try. Chances are it's not going to happen. Chances are you'll be lucky to sell 500, 250. I think aim for that 500 plus goal. If you can sell 500 copies as a first time author and you made like a good $7 grand for yourself, that's pretty good, man. That's a pretty good chunk of change. And you build your fan base, and then maybe in your sequel you sell maybe 1,500 copies, and now you made like your 15 grand. You can't write full time, but that's how you build your fan base. And then by your third book you sell maybe 2,000 copies, and now you made 25 grand. And by the time you make 50 grand, you can now write full time. And that's how you build your fan base, right? But marketing is not easy, obviously. You guys don't have the keys like me. Don't hate them, saying. But those are ways you can build your fan base, obviously. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But if you have a big following, I don't mean to be an asshole, guys. It's common sense. Don't be stupid and traditionally publish when you have a big audience. It's common sense. If you have a big audience, self-publish your goddamn book, man. Don't fucking traditionally publish. You're being stupid. You're making a very stupid decision if you traditionally publish if you already have a big audience. It's common sense, man. Self-publish your damn book. Whereas if you don't have a big audience and you have your 2 options always, but I told you, it all depends on the aspiring author's goals and their needs. If they want to be famous in the public eye, traditional publishing is a better path for you. If you want to be more simple, not as famous, but be richer, self-publishing is a better option for you, obviously. So, Sarah, I told you, if you're poor and you don't have like $3,000 in your savings or something like that, then traditional publishing is a better path for you, obviously. Traditional publishing doesn't cost you any money. You just have to get an agent, and that agent will land you a book publishing deal. Try to get you a book publishing deal. Doesn't cost you anything, but you lose the controlling right of your novel and you make way less money. Even if your book is a hit, you'll still make a lot of money, but it's not the kind of money you would make if you self-published. So I'm saying, Yeah. That's my point. So I'm saying, I talked for 93 minutes, guys. Almost done here. Hope you got Ivan. This is an amazing video, I know. Hope you guys know this show. Ivan, thank you, man. You gave us some tips. You helped us out a lot. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, but Ivan, how do you write like consistently entertaining chapters? I told you, character conflicts, foreshadowing hints, cliffhangers, big climaxes. That's how you keep your chapters entertaining and engaging. Yeah, try your best to have climaxes happen in each of your chapters. That way it's engaging to the reader and they're more hooked. Turn the page. Yes, some chapters will not be as good as others, but if you have climaxes in there and you put in some foreshadowing hints of what can happen in the future, obviously, and you end your chapter with a cliffhanger, you're going to keep the reader engaged, and they won't DNF your book. They're going to keep turning the page, obviously. As all my chapters, I believe, end with cliffhangers. There's not one chapter I don't leave with a cliffhanger. Yeah. Like in the prologue, I ended off with Queen Sarah. I don't want to spoil this over you. They honor the soldiers who died outside the wall, and they honor all obviously Tachys the first. Obviously, that's a spoiler. He dies in the prologue. I already told you guys, right? And Queen Sarah tells Cassius, do not make mention of the demon wolves to Tacitonius and Tactius. Queen Sarah tells Cassius that. And that's a cliffhanger which leads to young Tactius, and hence it keeps the reader engaged, right? And I have a big climax in the prologue. Tactius the first dies. Obviously. Yeah. 22 years later, you guys read that. I ended off with the wolves arriving to Cyrus to mark the lands, and Sirius tells Tachys, we must go at once, and you wonder what happens next. Then what was Cyrus? You get the scene of the marking of the lands, right? Yeah. And what was Cyrus? I ended with Tactius, Sirius and Papyri. They arrived to Saphius. It's like a new beginning, a new adventure. They're arriving to a new city, and now you're curious what will it be like when Tachys and them are in that city in Saphius. I end every chapter with a cliffhanger. That's why my chapters are so entertaining. I also throw in foreshadowing hints in there, and I always have big climaxes happen in each of my chapters to keep the reader engaged and to keep the reader hooked and entertained. That's how you write entertaining chapter, guys. Yeah, but Ivan, how do you do it? Well, I mean, that's on you, man. You gotta practice your writing. You gotta watch Brandon Sanders's lectures. You find ways to improve your writing. But it's not that hard, man. Just try to think of something interesting and entertaining, like a big conflict or climax in each chapter, and that's how you keep the reader engaged. Like, it's common sense, right? Yeah. Don't hate them, then, yeah. Almost done here, guys. I'll talk for maybe 6 more minutes. I'm done. And hence why the gatekeepers want to control my brand, because they know I'm gifted, man. Yeah, I would love for Ivan to sell it to us. Like, I guarantee you all the book publishing houses like Penguin Random House, Macmillan, Simon & Schuster. Well, Simon & Schuster is owned by Penguin Random House. Macmillan also. I guarantee you all those book publishing houses, when they read my book, oh my god, I would love for Ivan to come work full-time for us as a full-time author. But if I sell out, you guys are duping me. You're stealing all my money and giving me the peanuts when you're only making that money because of my keys. And you're taking advantage of my gifts, man. I write my amazing books, and then you control my book, and you're stealing all my fucking money, man. Yeah, you don't even have to market my book, man. I have the fucking keys to the kingdom. You're duping me, man. Taking like 95% of my money, and you're giving me 5% when I can make my 80% on Lulu and self-publish book myself. It's common sense, you know. I'm not selling to the Gates, man. This money off of Zane's book is mine. It's not yours. Zero. The money off the book's for me, but it's not for you. I'm sorry. Yeah. Ivan, please be a full-time author. No, guys. Being a full-time author is not my dream. Yeah. It's being a movie star with BJ. That's my dream, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, man, I want my book to be at bookstores, Barnes and Nobles in the States, and chapters in Canada. Yeah, if you want your book at bookstores and you want to be famous in the public eye, then traditional publishing is obviously the better path for you. I'm just saying, there's a lot of cons to it, man. You lose the controlling right of your novel, and they give you the peanuts. You make nothing, man. And your agent's taking a piece of your peanuts. Don't forget that, right? Your agent's taking a piece of your peanuts. But your book will look more professional. You have a team behind your book and everything, and you get to be famous in the public eye and everything. But you're not making as much money. Or self-publishing, you don't get that fame, but you make way more money. You're richer, but you get more of the simple fame, and you have to do the work yourself. You don't have a team behind your book. You have to pay for the team to work on your book. Your editor, your proofreader, design your cover, format your book. But once that's over with, it's worth it, and you release it on Lulu and Amazon. You maintain the rights of your novel, and the majority of the money goes to you. But you're not going to get that public eye fame, obviously, the way you do if you traditionally publish. You see what I'm saying? That's my point. So there's pros and cons to both sides. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. There's pros and cons to both sides. Some Sarah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to call this video Self-Publishing or Traditional Publishing, which is the better path, and advice to aspiring fantasy authors. This is for all you fantasy aspiring authors on Fantasy Writers Reddit. Because I wrote fantasy, the best advice I can give is for a fantasy novel. As every genre, you have different forms of writing, obviously. I'm talking about the fantasy genre here because Zane's is a fantasy novel, hence why I'm talking to all you aspiring fantasy authors around the world who want to be a famous fantasy author, some Sarah. So I hope you guys learn from my advice, and whatever path you want to take your path. I'm just saying, I hope you guys got both gists of the two sides, traditional publishing and self-publishing. I hope you guys learned something, and yeah, obviously. Anyways, here's where I talk for an hour and 40 minutes. That's good enough. Hope you guys enjoyed this show. This doubleheader from Michael Mayer. It's on there. I'm signing out. Peace. I'm fucking tired. I'm gonna take a shower and I'm gonna go make that my recipe, my fried rice. It's on there. I'm signing out. Peace. Hope you guys know this show from Michael Mayer. Peace out. Don't hate them, son.